while it is good that now building codes exist, the old ones are being updated. There are manuals and guidelines that have been produced to guide builders, but there is still a need to enhance capacity. It's one thing to develop those materials, but also another thing to ensure that the people that should be using it are aware that they exist. Maybe a lot of these documents may be available only in various offices. Some are not even readily available online, and maybe many are not widely disseminated in local communities. And it's very important in enhancing the capacity of the building professionals in the area in the country, and also of builders and other workers in the construction industry, or those uh, workers, carpenters in the community, to ensure that they are aware of these tools that can guide them to construct stronger houses. And a lot of these trainings are still needed, and I think countries are also in the process of improving their staffing to ensure that they will be able to function, to take on their regulatory function and other expectations from them once there is a stronger compliance, for example, in using this building codes. So yeah, there's this big need for capacity development and training programs targeting building professionals, um, builders, compliance inspectors, and regulators to be developed and delivered in conjunction with the rollout of the new and updated building codes and updated guidelines. Uh, there's also the untapped uh, opportunity to loop in the construction industry professionals in the country. Uh, so, like for example, in Solomon Islands, there's CBEPA. There's also the Association of Engineers in South Pacific. I think in Fiji, they're also quite organized, and the expertise that they have can be can be utilized in developing this in rolling out this capacity trainings to various cities and towns and communities. And these construction industry professional organizations also can be mandated to assist in the regulatory process, including technical assessment of building applications, planning approvals, building inspections, and licensing. So we can say that the phase of reviewing and updating the building codes are the easy part, but it's more on ensuring that they are applied on the ground. That is the real work that has to be done, and the link to that to be achieved is to ensure that more people are trained, more people will also be receiving proper trainings. And I also would like to add this it's like a brief discussion on green buildings. What we have discussed previously touch upon the basic structural elements to ensure that the houses or the buildings are um structurally sound. But what we are also probably would like to add into the discussion is on the energy use of the house, and and the other elements that somehow can add more value and add more quality and comfort in building the house. And here you can check out this link to have more details of this, you know, approaches on how to make a building green, looking at its use of energy, its use of water resources, on trying to minimize waste and to maximize reuse of what's already in there, and how those elements can, you know, promote health and well-being, how those elements can complement also in greening the environment and in creating resilient and flexible structures. So it's another level of discussion that is now gaining more traction here in the Pacific. Last year, the Pacific Power Association, with support from World Bank, came up with this publication on energy efficiency, residential and commercial application guidelines for use here in the Pacific. So this is an important issue, noting that power generation in the Pacific is still heavily dependent on fossil fuels, probably up to about 70%. And with the ongoing pandemic and travel restrictions and difficulty in supply chain and logistics, the demand for energy also is becoming more expensive. So these elements of energy efficiency, it's good to be brought into consideration in designing buildings. And some elements of green buildings are also related into, like, just basics of fundamental designs. Before, buildings have good natural ventilation, good natural light. But maybe during the 70s, when there was like some the design of buildings have evolved also, and with the popularization of air conditioning, so those kinds of elements have taken a backseat, because the understanding is that you can always like put air conditioning on your area, you can always put artificial lights on your area. So those natural elements have been it's like not really required, but not prioritized. But now that we are again back into, like, discussing and being more aware of sustainability issues, so we're just going back to the fundamentals, that those elements of natural light, ventilation, and some other things should be incorporated at the early stage of the design of buildings.